Coach Ryan coming back to you, P3 from the P3 headquarters. The big question for today, what happens if you go on vacation? What happens if you get sick? What happens if you miss a significant amount of time? What happens? What do we do? How does our program progress? How do we account for that? That's what we're going to chat about today. There are going to be occasions in life where you may need to miss an extended period of time of training. You might get sick, you might have a kid sick, you might go on vacation and be out of town, which is fantastic, and you may not be able to work through your program in that time. The issue with that is that it can be somewhat dangerous and not necessarily appropriate to sort of jump back into your program. Let's say you're in week 3 and your volumes, your sets, were reflective of being in week 3. If you take 10, 12 days, 14 days off, by the time you come back in, the reality is your body is going to be overly sensitive to training to the extent that it may not be the best idea for you to just jump right back in. It's like the equivalent of just like waking up first thing in the morning, coming outside of your house and just starting to sprint. There's nothing wrong with sprinting, but that's not inherently a great idea. So we've structured your program to literally reset itself if you miss a stretch of 10 or more days. Basically, all this means is you go back to the beginning and start over. The good news is your body is super primed and ready for you to begin again. So you don't lose anything. You're not losing everything you worked for. It doesn't work that way. Once you've built the underlying foundation of muscle and strength and skill and movement knowledge, it's always there. The big thing that we don't want to do is do too much too quickly. Number one, because that can be a great way to injure yourself. Number two, you just don't need to. The reality is, if we think of it like an apple tree, we want to pick up all the perfectly good apples that have fallen from the tree and are lying on the ground. So not rotten ones, like the really, really good ones. Once we've picked all those up, we can start to climb the tree. And in our analogy, basically we're going to start with the low-hanging fruit, the fruit that's on the ground, just a few working sets for each movement. As we get farther into training and our body is more adapted to training, we can do more volume and we're going to add volume. So in our analogy, that would be like climbing the tree. But in our case, whenever you miss an extended period of time, we're going to reset you to keep you safe and to make sure you get the most out of the program. There's actually, just as an aside, if you do too much, so a situation where you're sore for like more than a week, the literature, the scientific literature has shown us that you don't actually really benefit from that. So your body has to try so hard and dedicate all of its resources just to recovery, just to making you not sore, that it doesn't adapt. And where you get stronger, where you change your body composition, where you make your muscles bigger, is that process of adaptation. So we don't want to skip that over. Thus, we want to do just enough work to make sure we get the most benefit while still being able to recover in a reasonable amount of time, usually a couple days. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Please like this video if you found it useful. If you have a question, ask below. Subscribe to our channel for more helpful tips about making sure you get the most out of your training each and every day. Thanks.